all sorts of different types of data that are used in ArcGIS, and those are listed here by their file types. There's shapefiles, coverages, geodatabases, database connections, layer files, tables, TINs, CAD drawings, all those sorts of things. So let's take a look in more detail at some of these. The geodatabase file is the one that's native to ArcGIS Pro. So this is going to be the one that's really, that ArcGIS Pro is designed to work with. It can contain many different types of features or feature classes, raster layers, tables, and much more. But let's look at how it's organized. This little thing that looks like a cylinder here, that's the geodatabase itself, and it's going to have the .gdb extension. Within that, if we clicked on that, it would open it up. Within that, we're going to see a grouping of features that is called a featured data set, that in this case is called transportation. Within that featured data set, there can be as many feature classes as you'd like. This is a point feature class representing where the airports are, and you can see this is a point feature class because we're seeing those little points on this icon here. For lines, it's going to look more like this. This is the highways, and this is the railroads. Both of those are lines, so that's what that looks like. And those are line feature classes. This would be another line feature class. Here's another featured data set here, water, which is not open. And we can see here cities is another point feature class. And counties here is one where we have lines with a point in the middle of each of those. That's a polygon feature class. So these would be polygon outlines. And then the raster looks more like a checkerboard, and that's going to be something like a digital elevation model or something similar. So the geodatabase can be stored in a folder which contains only the geodatabase. So that's going to be that, and that's what's created in ArcGIS. There's different types of geodatabases that can be considered. There's a personal geodatabase, which is actually not recognized by Pro, but was built for ArcGIS, and that's going to actually be stored in a Microsoft Access database format. It's really designed for someone working individually or a small group. It's not really designed to be shared. The file geodatabases, they're stored as a file in a geodatabase folder, and this is really what you should be using if you're a single user, as you might be for this class. And this is one nice thing about this is it's going to be independent of the platform you're working on. If you're working for a large organization that always uses GIS, however, you'd probably be more likely to be working in an enterprise geodatabase. And this is stored in a commercial relational database management system, such as Oracle or SQL Server, something where it's very much designed in order to store and manage this data. It can be used by multiple users or large work groups, which is certainly a big advantage in a larger organization. And it supports multi-user editing, versioned editing, so you know what version of something you're on. And it would require some sort of license like an RDBMS license. Shapefiles are the ones that are stored in the spaghetti format that has a more simple structure associated with them. They can be read by many programs, and they're easily transferable, which is why they've stayed so popular. They appear as one file if you look in Arc Catalog, but if you look in something like Windows File Explorer, they're going to be displayed as multiple files. So for example, for this parcels, which would show up like this in Arc Catalog, if we look in Windows in my computer, this is what we would see. There's one called parcels.dbf. This is where the database is stored. This is where the map projection is stored. This is where the points are stored to outline those, and there's all kinds of other indexing and other files associated with this. So it's really best to deal with these. If we want to move these around, we either have to grab all of these if we're in my computer, or if we're in our catalog, it's much easier because parcels just shows up once, and then we can copy and paste this much more easily. So it's better to work with those in our catalog or similar. Coverages, they're an old vector data format that was used by Esri products, but is no longer recognized by ArcGIS Pro. So if you're going to use these, you have to convert them either from a coverage into a shapefile or into a geodatabase. But this is the way that they were stored. So within a folder, we would have a coverage called city boundary or land use, and under land use, we would have options. It would be stored as lines, which would be the arcs, as label points, which are what these points are here, as polygons, and as ticks. So if we just wanted to display the outlines of the land use, we could use the arcs, but if we wanted to fill those in with colors, we would be able to use the polygons. So they're composed of multiple feature classes. They do include topology, but they include topology that includes some fields in the attribute table that are no longer used. So things like the pound fields, the area length perimeter fields, and the ID fields are not fields that ArcGIS Pro needs to use or has a capability of using. It's just kind of more leftover from what these coverages used to be. Some other data types that come up a lot with GIS are database connections. So you can connect to a database system that contains non-spatial data as long as there's some sort of spatial information associated with those. And then you can bring in the XY coordinates or other data based on what you're connected to. Another thing that often comes into GIS is CAD files or computer-assisted drafting files. ArcGIS Pro is readily able to display these CAD files, so you'll easily be able to see those in Pro, but you're not able to edit them directly in ArcGIS Pro. You would have to go back to an AutoCAD or similar program if you wanted to edit those.